it's beautiful to watch humanity act as one and become this global brain, as I've called it. I called it a God brain, and then I deleted that tweet because I think it just confuses people. People don't want their religion mixed in with their opinion, so I just deleted that. But let's call it a global brain. It is focused on the problem in a way we've never done before, at a time when we can all communicate. Apparently, if you're an adult who is enjoying, let's say, time with yourself, let's say your partner is unavailable for whatever reason. You're enjoying time with yourself, if you know what I mean, wink, wink, wink. And that time results in, let's say, an experience which you might call a climax. Sorry, children. And apparently, science is pretty clear that improves your cortisol situation, which reduces your stress and improves your immune response. So it turns out that one of the best things you can do to protect yourself and, dare I say, the country, if not the world, because you're a patriot, you want to protect the country too. Well, now you know what to do. Get a little exercise, eat right, sleep right, and wink, wink, enjoy a little time with yourself. So that's doctor's orders. And I've said before that this is different than any other situation in which normally the president would be the most important person and would be making decisions that would affect everything. I don't know that the president is the most important person anymore because the entire world has mobilized on this problem and they didn't have to be asked because it's a global threat and humanity has focused its smartest, bravest, uh, hardest working people on the problem. When is humanity as a whole focused on one problem that's so immediate and this important before? Never, right? We're focusing the entire weight of human capability on this one problem, and it's phenomenal. It's not really the president's job. It's the globe as sort of self-organized, 99% of it, and then the president says, here's some money, I'll sign it. But the president's not doing the work. The globe has kind of self-organized, plus using existing, CDC and state governments and stuff. But it's it's beautiful to watch humanity act as one and become this global brain, as I've called it. I called it a God brain, and then I deleted that tweet because I think it just confuses people. People don't want their religion mixed in with their opinion, so I just deleted that. But let's call it a global brain. It is focused on the problem in a way we've never done before, at a time when we can all communicate. And let me give you some examples of what's happening. So yesterday, I think it was yesterday, I tweeted that in order for telemedicine to work, meaning your doctor being on a video call instead of in person, in order for that to work efficiently, we need an executive order that would allow doctors to practice across state lines. Now, why is it that I could make that tweet and I think it will actually make a difference? The reason I could do that is because I have experience with my own startup in which we work with doctors on telemedicine. And I learned that one of the biggest problems is that you can't practice across state lines. And if you could, there would be far more availability. Because let's say there's an emergency in one state, but it hasn't hit another state yet. You'd have a lot of doctors in the other state who had a little excess capacity they were willing to give out, maybe at night or whatever, and they could help out across state lines. At the moment, it's illegal. It's illegal. Can you believe that? It's an emergency. The country's in an emergency, and a qualified doctor in Connecticut, they've got a pretty good requirements to be a doctor, don't you think? Don't you think a doctor who's qualified to practice in Connecticut can give you an opinion in Pennsylvania? I mean, right? Is that dangerous? Do you feel at risk because you talk to a doctor who can practice in Connecticut, but you're in Pennsylvania? No, you don't feel at risk. Obviously not. It's a ridiculous set of, of, uh, of rules. Maybe it's good for the states. Maybe the AMA has something to do with it. But the point is, I, as a citizen, had a little bit of exposure to that problem. It's a gigantic lever in this crisis, to free up more potential doctor advice, even remotely, could be a big variable. And I happen to know that it would take one executive order to wipe all that away just for the emergency. Now, you probably want to limit it and say something like, it's just for coronavirus inquiries and assistance, and it's only for a limited time frame, because you don't want to go through the whole trouble of changing the whole system in the proper way. Now, some people have said to me, can you do an executive order like that? Because wouldn't you be overruling all the states? And is it legal? And don't you need legislation? And wouldn't it take longer? And here's the answer to that. No, no. That's what an emergency is. An emergency is you do things that you'd only do in an emergency. And this is one of them. Would it be legal for the President of the United States to do an executive order saying doctors could temporarily and for this situation only practice across state borders? And the answer is, it doesn't matter. If you're saying to yourself, Scott, it would be illegal for an executive order, for that to be done by an executive order, it doesn't matter. Who's going to complain? This is very important. If nobody's going to complain, and nobody's going to complain, nobody that matters. If nobody's going to complain, and it's literally one piece of paper, executive order, I order doctors to be able to practice, across state lines. That's it. It's one piece of paper. One piece of paper. Nobody will complain. Does it matter if it's legal? It does not. Does not, should not matter if it's legal. It's an emergency. It's transparent. It's obvious. It's the right thing to do. That's it. Somebody's saying malpractice insurance. You would probably need an executive order to handle that in some way, yes. But that's a detail. All right. So here's another little factoid. So if you're not following Balaji Srinivasan, you should. You can find I retweet him a lot, especially during the coronavirus thing, because his insight and expertise in this is tremendous. And one of the things that he found is that there was a development recently in that a certain kind of UV called far UV, and I don't know the difference between regular UV and something called far UV, but there's a technical difference. And apparently in a 2018 Columbia paper that Balaji was tweeting about, it can kill airborne viruses. So you can actually shoot the virus out of the air with light, a special kind of light. Now, I saw an estimate that you could build them for $1,000 a piece. Doesn't it seem like we could get that price down pretty quickly? And frankly, a lot of people would pay $1,000 a piece to put one in, let's say, in a public space. Then I learned, and this made me a little angry, then I learned that China ordered basically all of the robots, probably, that look like a Roomba. It's a little robot that looks like a Roomba and has a big light on it that just drives around hospitals in China, shoots the UV light into the environment to kill the virus in the air. To which I said, exactly what you're thinking right now. What? Right? When I told you that, and you heard that there are robots that already exist using technology that I think we can check pretty easily, works. You shoot some UV into the air and you either have the same amount of virus or you don't. And they're already using them. They're built, they're in China, they're doing their job, they're running around the restaurants disinfecting. Right? As soon as you heard that, didn't you say, where's my robot? Where does the United States have any robots? Because they're not buying them from the United States. I think they bought them from some European company. But as Balaji quite accurately says, this is not the sort of thing you want to run through some kind of long FDA approval thing. Is it not fairly easy for scientists to tell whether a light killed a virus? I feel as though we could figure that out without, all the double-blind experiments that you would normally do. It's like virus, light, turn it on, dead, yes or no. Try it again. Try it in a couple different rooms. Try it in a couple different settings. I mean, it's not one test. But as Balaji says, you could very quickly get to the point where you were confident enough that it was safe enough. I guess there's a safety issue, but it's not a big one. And why don't we just go gung-ho with this? Now, it could be that, there are going to be a lot of false starts and things we try that don't work and A/B testing, but this would certainly be on my list of things to go hard at. Now, where did the knowledge of this come from? Did the US government already know that there existed robots with far UV light on them? Maybe not, right? You assume that the government knows everything, but that's not my experience. My guess is that people like Balaji, doing the job of a patriot and a citizen, just jumping in to do what he can do, same as I am right now. He's jumping in and saying, did you know about this? By now, people in the government do know about it because he's widely followed. And now a new piece of information is available for a potential solution. So when you say, did the president do a good or bad job, I think you have to adjust that for the fact that it's 2020 and we don't need the president to tell us everything to do for a global threat that's this well known. People are just jumping in. People are jumping in. They're doing what they need to do. We don't need the president to tell us. Speaking of that, I like to tell you every day those things you can do to keep yourself healthier, keep your immune system high. This is especially important to me because I'm like I said, I'm in the kill zone because I'm at that age where the virus will kill me, especially because I have the asthma background. And so I'm keeping myself healthy and looking for tips on how to do that. And of course, you all know about the sanitizing and the hand washing and I've added to that, you should do some moderate exercise, get some sun every day, get some vitamin D. These things are all implicated in helping your immune system. But there was another study that was sent around today, and since this is a weekend especially, I'm going to try to say this in the most G-rated way I can. So bear with me, as for the benefit of the children, I will be talking indirectly now about a topic. Wink, wink, you know what I'm talking about. And it goes like this. Apparently, if you're an adult who is enjoying, let's say, time with yourself, let's say your partner is unavailable for whatever reason, and you're enjoying time with yourself, if you know what I mean, wink, 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 and that time results in, let's say, an experience which you might call a climax. Sorry, children. And apparently, science is pretty clear that improves your cortisol situation, which reduces your stress and improves your immune response. So it turns out that one of the best things you can do to protect yourself and, dare I say, the country, if not the world, because you're a patriot, you want to protect the country too. Well, now you know what to do. Get a little exercise, eat right, sleep right, and wink, wink, enjoy a little time with yourself. So that's doctor's orders.